I would be remiss if before my sermon on heaven, if I did not mention the sacred and holy memory of Jory Cohen-Greenberg Dietrich. She was one of my best Hebrew students ever, one of my best confirmation students ever. She was the best kept youth group advisor ever. She was a great daughter and a sister. She was a loving wife to Mike and a wonderful mom to Levi and Judah Dietrich, who is here with us this morning. She was taken from us far too soon, and perhaps we'll never know why for sure, because now she has vanished from our mortal sight. But I will say this to her parents and to you, Judah. Jory's never really gone. Your mom is as close as the air we breathe and as beautiful as an autumn day. She is what we might call your guardian angel, always by your side, Judah, always watching over you and Levi, making sure that no harm can come to you. So may you always feel her love and her protection. May we all be informed and tutored by Jory's wonderful life and her profound teachings. May the memory of this good woman be a blessing for all of us. May she always rest in peace. And let us all say. So I call this sermon, We Jews Do Believe in Heaven, because, you see, at the age of 30, I encountered death full force for the very first time in my life, when my brother, who was in his early 40s, took his own life. 40 years ago, he committed suicide, and his absence from my life affected me as few things ever have. Only a brother or a sister has grown up in the very same house that we have. So there's a shared understanding that we will always have with them, with no one else. We all get the shared jokes, the shared experiences, the shared perspectives. Only a brother or a sister shares our DNA, our genetic code, the shared subliminal memories of thousands of centuries. And so, the day I buried my brother, I felt as though I was burying a little bit of myself. It was the most troubling of experiences that I've ever had, and I have ruminated upon it until this very day, this very hour, this very moment. You see, one night, a few months after he died, my brother came to me in a dream. Now, in real life, for close to 30 years, we'd had a very troubled relationship. But in the dream that I dreamed, that night we spoke as we never had before. The tension melted away. All that was left was love and affection that was now refined by our separation. I remember asking him as our conversation ended in the dream that night, I said to him, Ronnie, how is it possible that you can speak to me in a dream? Aren't you dead? And there was a long silence. And then he answered clearly, I won't forget it. He said, if what you are asking me is, can you see me? Then yes, I am dead, he said. But as long as you can hear my voice, I'm still alive. The dream ended, and I awoke. Now, I know enough about psychology to wonder if the dream was merely a product of wish fulfillment, but I also know about religion. And that night I found myself wondering, do we Jews believe in heaven? Do we believe in the permanent existence of the soul in a place where we live with God and where we are reunited with our loved ones and our ancestors? Now I know what you might be thinking. You're thinking, that don't sound so Christian when he talks that way, about heaven that way. But the truth of the matter is, Christianity got much, if not all of its theology from us, from Judaism. And the simple truth that I have come to teach today is yes, individual Jews may choose not to believe in heaven, but the Jewish faith and many Jews do believe in heaven. Now, when I was growing up, I was never exposed to the Jewish theology of the afterlife, to the Jewish belief in heaven. I remember my parents saying to me, dead is dead. This life is all that we have, and then after this life, we're gone. Now, with all due respect to my parents, and to all of us who thought that Judaism did not believe in an afterlife, that's not exactly the whole story. It's only been in the last 100 years under the influence of 19th century rationalism and the scientific approach of the 20th and 21st centuries that many Jews have abandoned a faith approach for an empirical approach, which means if I can't see it, it doesn't exist. But Judaism, that is to say, the Jewish faith has always believed in an afterlife. We Jews do believe in heaven, whether or not you can see it. We believe in heaven for a number of reasons. We believe in heaven because we believe in a loving God, a higher power who protects our souls after we leave this place behind. We believe in heaven because it gives us a sense of well-being and comfort, to know that we will see our loved ones and our family again. We believe in heaven because our sacred tradition, our Talmud, tells us that heaven exists. We believe in heaven because we can feel the presence of the dead all around us, and all that is gone is their bodies. We often can feel the presence of their souls. And finally, we believe in heaven because our beliefs are not magical. They're actually quite practical. We believe in heaven because for us, death holds no real fear. We'll live our lives now to the fullest, but when it is our time to go, we will go without regrets. We'll leave without any fear. But now, the second half of my remarks, to be fair, let me present what I think are the reasons that many modern Jews don't believe in an afterlife. Let me present, I hope fairly, the arguments against believing in heaven, and then present what I believe are the appropriate counter-arguments. And then, as they say, you make your choices, you take your chances. Argument number one against believing in heaven is the empirical argument. That means I can only believe what I can see, and since you can't prove the existence of heaven, I choose not to believe in it. Okay, that's fair enough, but that's not the entire story. On the one hand, I'm tempted to merely acknowledge that this is a valid argument, and I want to move on. Of course, though, there are many things in life that we cannot see, and that we nonetheless believe in. Astrophysicists can't see dark matter, which fills the entire universe, but they posit its existence on the basis of what happens in the universe. Poets can't actually see love, or any other emotion for that matter. But it doesn't stop them from writing about it because they feel strongly the presence of those emotions. It's true, there's no scientific proof for heaven. If by proof we mean empirical, independently verifiable, and reproducible. But nonetheless, we Jews believe in heaven. Now, you could call it blind faith if you want. But our arguments for heaven is that there are different kinds of proof than that narrowly construed by 21st century science. I cannot tell you the number of people who have told me that they have received dreams, communications from the dead, a week, a month, or even years after the death of a loved one. The work of psychiatrist Raymond Moody in the area of the near-death experience is also instructive. He wrote a book called Life After Life. It was Dr. Moody who first published the reports of those who had near-death experiences and who reported that during that near-death experience, they saw close family members waiting on the other side to greet them or to send them back to life. Now, because most people are afraid of sharing supernatural, non-rational experiences for fear of being ridiculed, those narratives often go unreported. But much of the literature shows that death isn't just moving towards a supernal light. Your soul isn't what just moves you around while you're alive. When we die, the soul is a kind of energy that's released from the temporary shell of our bodies and which continues in a transmuted form in heaven. And whether or not you can prove it in a laboratory, we Jews believe in heaven. Argument number two against believing in heaven is that believing in heaven can lead to a de-emphasis on this life. And what the argument means is, if that's all you talk about, if heaven is all you talk about, all you concentrate on is the world to come, then you're going to ignore the demands of this world, the one in which we live now. And by the way, that's a valid argument, particularly when it's used against certain strains of various religions, Christianity or Islam, various offshoots of those. Some Christians and some Muslims have valued heaven more than they value earth. Certain religions have preached the hereafter more than the here and the now. Loving heaven more than earth can lead to a number of excesses. In some denominations of various religions, the belief in an afterlife has produced an unyielding desire to convert the world, since there's a conviction that people can only get to heaven through the door marked Christianity or Islam. This impulse has been replicated in other religions as well. It's frequently accompanied by a desire to sacrifice oneself in Islam, to immolate oneself in time of war, because that's the surest way we can get to heaven. But those tendencies to overemphasize heaven over earth, always been fought in Judaism. We Jews believe in heaven, but we also believe that God put us here on earth to do tikkun olam, to be good stewards of creation. This life is important, and this planet, this ecosystem is important. I don't know, maybe that's why we Jews have always been so attracted to politics, to law, to education, to medicine, to psychology, because we believe that it's incumbent upon us to make this world a better place in which to live. It is possible to overemphasize heaven over earth, but Judaism teaches us to avoid that excess. We simply say, there's a heaven, God will take care of it when the time comes. Now let's get on with our lives. A third argument against believing in heaven is that it's a form of political control, right, by some organized religions. In other words, if the church or the synagogue control the keys to the kingdom of heaven, you're more likely to do what the priest or the rabbi says. The promise of an afterlife or the threat of an eternal damnation leads itself to a kind of political control in this world. So, like many of the criticisms that I've already stated, it's a fair one. Early Christianity went to great extremes to identify who was and who was not a heretic. And all heretics were condemned to a fiery and eternal damnation. The only thing wrong with using this argument in a contemporary setting is that I'm not preaching heaven in order to gain control over your minds or your actions. I'm a Reformed rabbi. I'm not about to tell you who will and who will not get into heaven. I don't know those things for sure. And I'm forbidden to put myself in place of God. We Jews do believe in heaven, but it's not a form of political control for us. According to Judaism, anybody who's righteous can get into heaven. Baptists, Methodists, Catholics, Episcopalians, Lutherans, Presbyterians, Muslims, Buddhists, and yes, even Reformed Jews get to go to heaven. Get to go to heaven. I have several inappropriate remarks, which I'm now not going to make. People will ask me if someone is almost completely evil, a Hitler, a Manson, a Jeffrey Dahmer. Well, we don't know if that happens. We don't know if that soul ever truly learns from life or repentance. There's a free will above as well as below. Maybe those who were evil continue to choose evil and their souls never rise to heaven. They remain in kind of a holding zone, if you will, a kind of purgatory. No, it's true, we Jews don't believe in hell, since we don't have a devil or a Satan. But we do not believe that those who are truly evil will go to heaven. Their souls will dissipate or maybe even return in another reincarnation to walk this planet yet one more time, to refine and to reclaim their humanity. Which brings me now to the fourth and final argument against believing in heaven. The argument which I hear so often is religion is just a crutch, is how the argument goes. Belief in heaven is a psychological phenomenon in which people convince themselves that there is a heaven. And this is the standard, it's the Freudian argument, in which religion is just a reaction to the fear of death. And I only have one thing I can say to that particular argument. Maybe. Or maybe not. How can you prove that religion is a psychological phenomenon? And secondly, what does it really mean when you say that religion is a crutch? Why is that necessarily a bad thing? A crutch is something that helps you walk. It helps you make it down the path. In fact, the argument could be made that virtually everything that assists us with the harshness of reality, it's all a crutch. I'm just making a modest proposal that religion and a belief in an afterlife is also therapeutic and practical. People who are extremely religious and who believe in an afterlife are often able to cope with the pain of dying and with the fear of death better than non-believers. Religious people believe that pain is transient, and that even if we have to suffer for a month or 2 months, God forbid even 6 months at the end of our lives, that soon we will exist in a painless environment forever. You see, we Jews believe in heaven. We believe in heaven because our tradition has always taught us that the soul is indestructible. We believe in heaven because our logic dictates if there is a loving God, then that higher power will bring us ever closer even after we die. We believe in heaven because our experience has taught us that the dead are often as close as the very next dream we have. We believe in heaven because our lives have taught us that those who face and have faith for this world as well as the next with open arms and open hearts. And finally, we believe in heaven because our belief gives us a spiritual peace that's impossible to have in any other way. And so now, having reached the end of my formal remarks, I'll close with this simple story of the rabbi and the Cossack. You see, the story is told of the Cossack, the Russian soldier. He was a marauder with a sword. He rode up to the Rabbi and he said, "Don't you know who I am? I represent death itself. I'm the one who can run through you with a sword without even batting an eye." And the Rebbe thought for a moment, and then he said, "Don't you know who I am? I'm a Jew who believes in heaven. I am the one who can be run through with a sword and even die. I won't even bat an eye because I'm not afraid of death, and I'm not afraid of dying." And so, may we all be sealed in the book of life for the year to come. May the peace of this world and the peace of the world to come be upon us. And let us all say, Amen. Good morning and good yontif.
Actually, Rabbi, thank you.